passes. Opening hook, you feel like you're in there, somewhere behind your eyes, somewhere inside your skull. Your thoughts, your memories, your fears, your dreams. That voice reading this sentence right now, it feels located, contained, centered, passes. But what if I told you that according to the deepest laws of physics, your mind doesn't actually exist in the way you think it does? What if the place you believe your mind lives is a convenient illusion, bold, maybe even arrogant, passes? But let's follow the physics and see where it forces us, because physics doesn't care about our intuitions, passes. And when you apply it carefully, it leads to something both disturbing and strangely beautiful, passes. Part 1, the comfortable story. We are taught a simple story: your brain creates your mind. Neurons fire. Electric signals travel. Chemicals cross synapses. And somehow, consciousness appears. Problem solved, right? But let me ask you something. If I opened your skull, and I don't recommend this, what would I find? Gray, squishy tissue, cells, molecules, atoms. Would I find your childhood? Passes. Your favorite song? The feeling of embarrassment? The meaning of this sentence? No. At the microscopic level, there are only particles obeying physical laws, no thoughts, no colors, no sounds, no self. So where is the mind hiding? Passes. Part 2. Feynman's disturbing insight. Richard Feynman once said something profoundly unsettling. Passes. There's plenty of room at the bottom. He meant that everything, including you, is made of atoms, and atoms follow simple rules. Passes. They don't try. They don't mean. They don't intend. They just obey probability. If you zoom in far enough, the universe becomes a dance of electric charges and quantum fields. So here's the disturbing discovery. If your brain is made of atoms, and atoms obey blind physical laws, then your mind must emerge from blind physical laws. Not magic, not spirit, passes. Not something floating above physics, just matter. But how can lifeless particles produce experience? Passes. Part 3, the ice cube analogy. Order from chaos. Imagine an ice cube in a glass of warm water. The ice melts. Always. Passes. You have never seen an ice cube spontaneously form in warm water. Why? Because of the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy increases. Disorder spreads. At the microscopic level, water molecules jiggle randomly. Passes. They collide. They bounce. They explore possibilities. There are vastly more melted arrangements than frozen ones. So melting is overwhelmingly probable. Now here's the twist. Your brain is also made of molecules jiggling randomly. Ions drift. Proteins vibrate. Electrons tunnel. At the microscopic level, your brain is chaos. But at the macroscopic level, you're reading, understanding, reflecting. How? Passes. Part 4, micro vs macro. The illusion of solidity at the microscopic scale. Particles obey quantum mechanics. But everything is probabilistic. Well, motion is restless and noisy. At the macroscopic scale, you experience stability. You experience identity. You experience a continuous self. How can both be true? Here's an analogy. Imagine a stadium full of people doing the wave. Individually, each person stands up randomly. But collectively, passes. A smooth wave travels around the arena. The wave passes. Isn't a thing. You can't grab it. It's a pattern. Your mind is like that wave. It isn't a particle. It isn't a specific neuron. It's a large-scale pattern emerging from trillions of microscopic interactions. The wave exists, but only as organization. Passes. Part 5. The deck of cards analogy. Take a deck of 52 cards. Shuffle it. The order you get is almost certainly unique in the history of the universe. Why? Passes. Because the number of possible arrangements is astronomically large. Now imagine your brain. It contains roughly 86 billion neurons. Each neuron connects to thousands of others. The number of possible connection patterns makes the deck of cards look trivial. Your mind isn't in a single neuron. It's in the arrangement, the pattern, the extremely unlikely configuration that exists right now. But here's the catch. Patterns are fragile, and physics is relentless. Part 6. You are not a closed system. Here's a common argument. Biology explains the mind. Yes, but biology is chemistry, and chemistry is physics. There's no escape hatch. But there's another critical detail. You are not a closed system. Entropy always increases in a closed system. But Earth passes not closed. It receives low entropy energy from the sun. The sun floods our planet with structured energy. Life uses that energy to temporarily build order. You are a local rebellion against entropy, a temporary island of structure in a universe trending toward disorder. Your mind exists because energy flows through you. Stop the flow, and the pattern dissolves. Just like the wave disappears when the crowd sits down. Imagine gas molecules trapped in one corner of a box. Remove the barrier. They spread out. They don't decide to spread. They simply explore possibilities. Passes. There are more ways to be spread out than clustered. Now imagine your brain after death. No energy flow, no metabolic activity, no maintenance of structure. Passes. The organized pattern dissolves into vastly more probable disordered states. Not because the universe is cruel, but because probability wins. The laws of physics say no. The pattern cannot sustain itself without energy. So where does the mind go? It doesn't go anywhere. The pattern simply ceases. Part 8. So where does it exist? Here's the disturbing realization. Your mind does not exist in a location. It exists as a dynamic process, like a flame. Where is the flame? Is it in the wick? In the wax? In the air? It's a process, a continuous chemical reaction sustained by energy flow. Blow out the candle. Where did the flame go? Nowhere. The process stopped. Your mind is more like a flame than a stone. It exists in time, not in space. Passes. It's a verb, not a noun. You are not a thing. You are an activity. Part 9. The counter-argument. Some people say, but consciousness feels fundamental. Maybe. But feeling fundamental doesn't make it separate from physics. Consider color. At the microscopic level, there is no red. There are photons of certain wavelengths. Your brain interprets them. Red exists, but only as an emergent experience. Similarly, passes. The self may be an emergent story your brain tells itself. That doesn't make it fake. It makes it relational. Passes. Your mind exists wherever the pattern of information processing exists. Inside the brain. Across neural networks. Even partially in your environment. Through language, tools, culture. When you read a book, part of your thinking happens on the page. Passes. When you use a calculator, part of your reasoning happens outside your skull. So where does your mind exist? Perhaps partly in the world. Part 10. The philosophical pivot now. Here's the beautiful part. Yes, your mind is fragile. Passes. Yes, it's temporary. Yes, it's a statistical miracle sustained by energy flow. But think about what that means. For 13.8 billion years passes. The universe expanded, cooled, formed stars. Inside one galaxy, the Milky Way. Around one ordinary star, the Sun. On one small planet, the Earth passes. Atoms arrange themselves into molecules. Molecules into cells. Cells into brains. And somehow, the universe began to experience itself. Through you. Your mind is what happens when matter becomes organized enough to ask, "What am I?" Passes. That's not disturbing. That's astonishing. Part 11. The inevitable ends, and why it's okay eventually. Entropy wins. Stars burn out. Galaxies drift apart. Patterns dissolve. The universe trends toward equilibrium. And your mind, like every flame, will go out. But here's the twist. Passes. The fact that it's temporary is what makes it precious. If ice never melted, it wouldn't be special. If waves never faded, they wouldn't be beautiful. Passes. You are a temporary, improbable fluctuation in a cosmic ocean of particles. And for a brief moment, you are aware. Final realization. So where does your mind exist? Not in a place, not in a particle, not in a soul floating above physics. It exists in the pattern. Passes. In the energy flow. In the fragile, defiant organization of matter. You are not separate from the universe. You are what the universe is doing right now. A dynamic process, a localized rebellion against entropy, a self-aware pattern in a sea of probability. And maybe the most disturbing discovery of all is that this fragile pattern, this temporary flame, is enough to love, enough to wonder, enough to ask impossible questions. So let me ask you, if your min passes, D is just a pattern in the cosmic dance, what will you do with the brief moment that pattern exists? Tell me in the comments. Passes. Because for now, the universe is listening through you.